this new Spider-Man got me thinking about some of my favorite Ultimate Spider-Mans, and off the top of my head, I can think of 2099, Noir, Unlimited, Ultimate Peter, Miles, Spider-Gwen, and a more recent one, Superior Spider-Man. I said Superior Spider-Man!
I'm Ultimate Comic Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
Wrong video, dude. This one is for Superior.
But Miles is the superior one.
Alright, whatever. Let's just go to the intro.
Comics and me, comics and me. This show is about comics and me. Do we talk about comic books? Yes, we do. That's what it's about. Look out. It's comics and me.
Whew! Swinging through a city really works up a sweat, especially when you're in a skin-tight suit. But you know, it was for a special occasion. Like I mentioned, we're going to talk about Superior Spider-Man. When this first came out, about 2013, 2014, I remember a lot of people were hating on it. Like, oh, this is stupid. Like, this is a stupid way to take it. Oh, Dan Slott's just ruining Spider-Man. And a lot of people were like, oh, it's too much sci-fi. And, you know, whenever we get changes in comics, a lot of people hate on it before even reading it. Even same thing with movies. And you know what? If you hate before you even watch, read it, or anything, that's just kind of pointless to me. Just wait until the product comes out and then hate on it or love it or just not even read it. I know one of the big things when it came out was people were like, oh, Doc Ock switched his mind with Peter Parker? Like, that's stupid. That can't happen. And it's like, it's a comic though. Like, weird stuff happens all the time in comics. It's sci-fi. Like, I thought that was a great aside too, because it reminded me of like something a villain back in the 60s would do. Like, oh, I'm going to swap minds with this hero. And it's like, oh wow, that's like very futuristic. That's really cool. And I mean, even in the story itself, when Doc Ock is Spider-Man going around and he's at the raft, the Spider Slayer tried doing the same thing Doc did with a couple little Spider Slayers with his memory inside of it. Tried going in the back of Spider-Man's head and moving his memory into his, mostly taking over his mind. And then Doc Ock's as Spider-Man's like, yeah, I already did that. And Spider Slayer's like, no, oh no, you're Doc Ock. And it's like, see, even other villains think that. The other thing I liked was it brought into continuity, but kind of brought back out to the public, one of my other favorite alternate Spider-Mans, the 2099 Spider-Man. I always loved his outfit. I loved his lingo, like Bithead and little things like that. His lingo was dope. And I think they were reprinting his old stuff in trade paperbacks then too, which I bought all of, but I had to sell. But I loved those. They're amazing. And it finally brought him back into continuity. And we got to see him interact with other characters. And he kind of had a history because him and Peter remember each other. And then he's even like, man, this Peter Parker seems kind of off from what he used to be. And towards the end, when Peter gets his body back, 2099 even makes comments, because Spider-Man says something stupid, and 2099's like, oh, yep, nope, that's original Peter. So that was great. And then it brought back Green Goblin. Granted, I wasn't reading too much into Spider-Man when this came out, so I don't know the whole backstory of Goblin was gone for a while, but it did bring him back in a big way where he made his own empire and everything. And he figures out Doc Ock is inside Peter's head. And that was really cool because he's like, oh, I know this guy. So they kind of butt heads for a while. And then when Peter gets his body back, Green Goblin doesn't know it. And then when he finds out, he's like, oh no, it's original Peter Parker, which was an amazing moment. And he mostly just found out because Peter said, oh, at least I never have a man purse. And Green Goblin's like, oh crap, that's Peter. So that was just great. And then we also see Black Cat come back, which the character's cool and all, but it's like the Batman-Catman relationship where it's like, oh, it's okay, I'll let her get away with stuff because I love her, or like, we're an item or something. And it kind of always happened like that with Spider-Man 2 to a degree. But this one, Doc Ock, I'm just going to refer to him as Superior Spider-Man. Superior Spider-Man just goes up and clocks her right in the face, breaks her tooth, and she's like, you broke my tooth. And she's freaking out because she's like, this isn't the Spider-Man I know. He's like, yeah, you're breaking the law, and just webs her up and leaves her for cops. And she's mad, like, very mad. And if I recall later on in another Spider-Man series, she comes back and just hates Spider-Man and does a bunch of stuff with that. But I didn't read too much afterwards. I read Spider-Verse, which I loved. And that was all after that. So I don't know if she comes back after that at all. But on the subject of Spider-Verse, during the Superior Spider-Man disappears for like a few pages, like in time, they say. And I can't remember if it's a few hours or like 30, 40 minutes. But he disappears, and then he comes back, and he forgets what happens. And I remember when that happened, when it was getting released in single issues, they're like, oh, where'd he go? What happened? Oh, you'll find out in a few months in a new event. And then it showed what happened in Spider-Verse, which I thought was a really cool idea. So, like, they planned it from there, and it was just really awesome. In the beginning, whenever Doc Ock took over Peter Parker's mind and became Spider-Man, he was kind of more evil. But then when Peter Parker's mind was in Doc Ock and they were fighting till Doc Ock's body, aka Peter's mind, died, he was like, please protect my friends and family. Like, I want you to be a good hero. And Doc Ock in Spider-Man's body, now Superior Spider-Man's like, yes, I'll be superior. And that's where he got the name Superior Spider-Man from. So in the beginning, he was transitioning to being a hero, and he was being a good hero. I mean, he had his faults because he's just starting out as Doc Ock, Superior Spider-Man. And as the series went on, it showed him becoming better and better and using more technology, trying to improve the situation in the town. And he did really good, but then there were some parts where he just kind of snapped and would show his evil side and stuff. But honestly, the whole series showed a really good evolution. It showed Doc Ock evolve, and it was amazing. Like, it showed him be a better hero and better hero. And at the end, whenever he just can't save the person he loves, Anna Mary, he's like, Peter, you have to come back, because he's in his mind, so he brings him back. He's like, you were the superior Spider-Man. I see my faults. You were always superior. And that was just beautiful. And Peter Parker's return, like the last panel on issue 30 was amazing. It's like, my turn. And it's like, dude, that's awesome. And then the next issue, when he's just going and talking to people, he doesn't remember anything what happened. So that sets up a bunch of stories in the future, which is really awesome. And he's just trying to remember, not even remember, just like get people to tell him what happened so then he can know what he needs to do. I remember when they first showed the new costume with the little legs and stuff. I mean, that's a callback to Civil War, because Spider-Man had the metal legs from the Iron Spider from Iron Man, which I always thought was cool. Yeah, it seems kind of evil and menacing, but it was really cool. And when Doc Ock had it, he had like little talons on his fingers, and his suit was kind of darker and less cheery, and it just looked more menacing, but it was still a really cool costume change. Like, that was one I liked that stuck around for the whole 31 issues. The art, it went through a couple different artists just because there were so many issues, but I know some of the art on it was from some artists that have been around and done Spider-Man multiple times before, and I always loved that art. And I know a lot of people didn't like it because they say the body was out of proportion, like, oh, this looks weird, that looks weird. But art is very subjective. Some people might like art this way. Some other people might not like art another way. I thought this art was really cool, and it really brought out the comic booky side of Spider-Man. And it was just fun to look at and very gorgeous. And then the first annual one, they brought a character called Blackout. He was an old Ghost Rider villain. I don't really know much about him because I've only read minimal Ghost Rider, and that's just from tie-ins and stuff from the 90s. But this was a prominent villain from Ghost Rider, and they brought him in to fight Spider-Man so he could like show he's back and all that stuff. And so he kidnaps Aunt May and all that stuff, and Superior Spider-Man goes and kidnaps him and saves Aunt May, and he's like, hey, go, like, I gotta take care of this guy. And he starts torturing the dude because the character can't die and all that stuff. So he's like, oh, you can't die, so I'm just gonna torture you. And he just like rips his teeth out, his fingernails and everything. And it's brutal. And it kind of showed a dark side of the Superior Spider-Man. Like, yeah, it's still Doc Ock in here, and he's still willing to do whatever he wants. And I thought that annual was really good, and I liked it. And Aunt May sees Spider-Man does it, and she's like, oh, I don't like Peter working with Spider-Man. And that kind of furthers a plot of her wanting Peter to not work with Spider-Man anymore. All in all, I really liked this series. And for my top alternate Spider-Mans, I think Superior would be one. It didn't last long, but I know they're coming out with a new one called like Superior Octopus or something like that. I don't remember what it's called. And I might check that out depending on how long it goes. But this was a really good 31 issue run with 2 annuals. Like, I enjoyed every moment of it. It had a big overreaching plot, and it made sense story-wise and went heavy into sci-fi, and it was just really fun. And I would say give it a read. I enjoyed it. I reread it every chance I get. I mean, it's really fun. It was good enough to where people still want the character and different stories and stuff. And it's just funny looking back because everyone's like, this is so stupid. Why would they happen? Why would they let him write this? And then now everyone's like, man, that was a really good arc. That was a really good 31 issue run. Like, man, that was amazing. And it's like, well, yeah, just wait, have patience, and see what you think. So it was fun. Thanks for watching again. I plan on having one every Wednesday from now. Granted, if I get the time to make it, and I really hope I do. I hope you like the intro. That took a lot, and I had to learn green screen. And I mean, this suit is not comfy. Hey, thanks for watching as usual. My camera stopped working at 11 minutes, so I had to actually redo the last few minutes, which was kind of annoying, but you know, it happens. It's technical. But please like, subscribe, drop a comment, all that stuff. I really don't like saying that, but it kind of helps. It's nice to hear feedback from people, and it's nice to talk to people. So, you know, let me know your favorite alternate Spider-Man, like 2099, like I already said, that's pretty much mine. Spider-Gwen, Spider-Gwen came out of nowhere. Like, I love Spider-Gwen. I'll have another video about that sometime, but please let me know who your favorite Spider-Man is, Spider-Girl, Spider-Person. Like, there's dozens of them. Just drop me a comment, I'll talk back to you, or go to one of my other sites. Like, just talk. Let's have some talk about comics. So, as always, enjoy your week and enjoy all the comics out there, guys. After credit scene, you know every Marvel movie does it, so I thought I would add an extra credit scene here, because a lot of people only watch the beginning of YouTube videos and stuff, so they skim past a lot, and they just want the nitty-gritty about stuff, which I totally understand. So here's a more personal story pertaining to Spider-Man. So when I was a little kid, when I want to say it was after Ultimate Spider-Man, which I got from my grandma, which is another side story, I was in Florida, I think, celebrating some other stuff, but my birthday also came up. So we're having a birthday cake, and they're like, hey, Jason, make a wish. And my wish was, I wish a spider would come down and bite me and make me Spider-Man. I know that sounds really stupid and dangerous, but that's what I wanted as a kid. So then we go to blow, I go to blow out the cake, and a spider comes down. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm going to be Spider-Man. And then my dad smushed it. So, you know, I was almost Spider-Man, or I almost died, one of the two. So, I mean, he could have saved me, but he also could have not saved me. So, who knows? Have a good one.